What is the perception of your team? What is the perception of your franchise? What is the perception of your business? What is the perception of your company? If you have a lot of negative stories that are surrounding your company, it's going to hurt your company. It's going to hurt it from a public relations standpoint. It may just even one customer that's at the store and they're thinking to buy your product, even if it just goes into their head for a quick second, it's not good for business. I'm going to give you guys an example. The Lakers, or I'm sorry, Ty Lue joined Stephen A. Smith on his podcast. So Stephen A., listen, everywhere you look, Stephen A. Smith, he's everywhere. But actually, probably one of my favorite ways to watch Stephen A. Smith is on his pod, on his channel, on the independent space, because that's a different type of Stephen A. Smith. He had Ty Lue on. And by the way, Stephen A. is now obviously he's talking politics. He's talking everything else. He's doing his thing. It's not just, hey, I'm just here for sports. But it's kind of his evolution, I guess you can call it. Stephen A. Smith had Ty Lue on. This is what I mean about an organization where it's so important to have the right perception about your franchise and your team. All right. Ty Lue was on with Stephen A. He's talking about, if you guys remember, was it 2019 before the Lakers eventually signed Frank Vogel, which, by the way, was a good hire. Let's not pretend like Frank Vogel was not a good hire for the Lakers, and let's not pretend like Frank Vogel didn't win a championship for the Lakers. But that's not even the story. I think this, to me, is more interesting than that part specifically. The conversation had come up where LeBron James was somewhat involved. I don't know how involved he was, but Ty Lue was a candidate to be the Lakers head coach. Ty Lue's coming off an NBA championship with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Of course, Ty Lue and LeBron James have a really close relationship. Here's what Ty Lue told Stephen A. Smith in regards to not getting the gig with the Lakers. He said he did. He's talking about LeBron. And he called me twice. He called me. What do I have to do? He's talking about getting the job with the Lakers. I said, Ty Lue, no, I want them to respect me. I don't want to have to go to you to get my deal done. If they don't respect me like I should be respected, then it's okay. This is Ty Lue basically talking about the Lakers front office. He was in the middle of trying to get the Lakers job. And I'll get into the details if you guys go back into this. And again, I want to continue to emphasize the perception that the Lakers are giving off even 4 or 5 years later. And there's a track record here, unfortunately, for that Lakers front office. He wasn't pissed off. This is Ty Lue talking about LeBron. He wasn't mad about it, but he and Rich Paul both stepped in and said, what are we going to do to get it done? I don't like the way it was handled. This is Ty Lue talking about it. All right. So basically, Ty Lue, at the end of the day, he felt like he was disrespected. I'm going to read one more quote here. This is Ty Lue talking to Stephen A. Smith. I don't think they had the same respect for me as I felt they should. They offered me the job on a 3-year basis, and they wanted to pick my coaching staff, and I just wasn't going to do that. For me to be a championship coach, to take a 3-year deal when everyone else is getting 5-year deals and more money, and then you want to pick my staff as well. Further on, he went on, I just thought it was a slap in the face as a young black head coach. I just thought it was a bad example. I was setting up for other guys coming up after me. I'm a loyal person. For me to take the job and leave my guys behind in Cleveland with no job, they were going to be out of the league, wasn't going to take those guys with me. I wasn't going to be able to take those guys with me. He's talking about his coaching staff. All right, listen. Ty Lue has, at the absolute least, has proven after he left the Cleveland Cavaliers, he's a good head coach. You know, you might not be a fan of the Clippers. Fine. Doesn't matter. It literally, it's irrelevant whether you're a fan of the Clippers or not. I don't care about that. Clippers today have a better record than the Los Angeles Lakers. Obviously, Kawhi Leonard hasn't played yet for them. They're 14-11. By the way, in the offseason, they also lost Paul George. But I don't even care about the argument. Ty Lue is a really, really good head coach. It's absurd what the Lakers were asking Ty Lue to do. And what sucks about it is this was 5 years ago. And now it's coming up, and it's just another kind of bad taste in your mouth if you're another head coach out there. It might be a bad taste in your mouth if you're a player or a free agent or an agent that's saying, damn, the Lakers really did do Ty Lue dirty. And the Lakers are in a position to say, we're the Los Angeles Lakers. Yeah, maybe another team's going to offer you 5 years. We don't have to do that. We can offer you 3 years, and we're going to pick your coaches. I don't think that sets a good precedent. Let me say this as well. You know, when you think of this Lakers team, one of the things, or when you think of this Lakers offense, when you think of this Lakers front office, I'm going to find something that I was searching a little bit earlier. When you think of this Lakers front office, one of the things that it's impossible not to think of, how many different head coaches have the Lakers had since Phil Jackson left the Lakers, right? Phil came back in his second stint with the Lakers, 2005 to 2011. Mike Brown, Bernie Bickerstaff, Mike D'Antoni, Byron Scott, Luke Walton, Frank Vogel, Darvin Ham, J.J. Redick. I know not all of these were coaching for very long. Bernie Bickerstaff, I think, was in for like 10 games, something along those lines. But for the most part, J.J. Redick is your seventh coach in less than a 10-year span. Or in a, let's call it actually, no, my apologies. Your seventh coach in about 12, 13 years. That's not a good perception. That's not a good perception. Frank Vogel wins a championship, he's gone. You basically say, you fall on the sword, even though we traded for Russell Westbrook. Darvin Ham comes in. I think most people feel by the time Darvin Ham was done, there was a perception, hey, I don't think this guy's going to take the Lakers to the next level. Anthony Davis, and it felt like some of those guys he was losing in the locker room. You go out and make a change. He was a first-time head coach. J.J. Redick's never coached in the NBA, so there's another challenge you got coming up. I just thought that Ty Lue specifically, the perception that the Lakers right now, that front office is given off, there's already a lot of question marks of, does this franchise kind of know where they're going? Does it know what its next move is? Are they 2 steps ahead or 2 steps back? And on top of all that, this is a good example of a really good head coach in the NBA that's sitting back and saying, I was disrespected by that franchise and that front office. Well, that's not a good look.